What are things your roommate has done that is pure evil? Not washing the bathroom ever. In our 5 years of living together, I lived with a dude once who had never lived without his mother and told us in the first week, yeah, I don't do bathrooms. My other roommate, and I set him straight on that right quick. He was such a terrible roommate though that after 10 years of friendship, we no longer speak. When I was living in the dorms at university, about 2 decades back, I was the only one out of 8 tenants on my floor that cleaned the shared kitchen. It was disgusting. You could smell it in the dorm rooms, and we had maggot/fly issues. It literally took me 2 hours just to clean up before I cooked my meals. The cleaning crew that came in once a week, they were supposed to only clean the hallways, were so pissed off that they had to keep cleaning up the kitchen, which was not their job, as we were supposed to keep it clean, and they fined us every single week because those idiots didn't clean up after themselves. I just mostly stopped eating cooked meals from there, surviving off pre-made salads, pre-cooked meats, and going to the local cafe for a meal once a day. It was cheaper than buying all those bloody cleaning products. One day the cleaners saw me cleaning up before I was going to cook and went off on me for the messes they had to clean. I told them straight that I was the only person who cleaned, and it takes me 2 hours just so I can make the place clean/safe enough to make my dinner. The university afterwards paid me back all the money they fined me and upped up all the other guys' fines. They never did bother to clean up that kitchen, and it cost them to have to pay double the normal rent each week, which ended up being a couple of grand in extra costs to them. Threatened to stab me with his used needle to give me hepatitis. That was quite a shitty thing to do in my opinion. Hope he's in jail. Once I had a housemate who never returned kitchen utensils to the kitchen after using them. When I moved into that apartment we had something like 20 forks, and by the time I moved out, there were no forks left in the utensil drawer, and I was keeping one in my room so that he wouldn't steal it. The same thing happened to me when I moved to my current apartment. I had 10 spoons. Now I keep 2 in my room and have no idea what happened to the rest. They get thrown out. It's surprisingly easy for some people to not think about the silverware they ate with and to just toss out a whole to-go container, silverware included. In college, I had a 6:30 AM required class. Culinary arts, ordering and warehouse management if you're wondering. My first college roommate would come back to the room around midnight most nights, flip on the lights and loudly play League of Legends. My roommates would do that, but with streaming TV, the internet was in my name, so I'd just log onto the router and turn the internet off for the TV. On nights I didn't have to wake up early the next day, I'd sometimes stay up and duck with them by turning the TV's internet access on and off over the course of a couple of hours. Irregularly rewarded behavior is the most difficult to eradicate, so they'd inevitably spend more time trying to get it to work than if it just turned on and off once. I eventually figured how to get the router to do that for me using the parental controls to allow access during only specific times. I did this during Game of Thrones nights too. Before the series sucked, I wouldn't have minded if they didn't turn the TV up so loudly and didn't have extremely loud conversations during and after. My bed was also directly on the other side of the wall from the TV. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And yes, I did ask them to turn it down, but they would do so for 5 minutes and get loud again. You're a sick bastard, but you're my kind of sick bastard. I lived with 3 others in an apartment a couple years ago. In the kitchen, I had a small section of the counter with a few pour over coffee brewing items, Chemex, scale, gooseneck kettle, which are relatively pricey and fragile, so everyone agreed to be careful with them. One day, I noticed a pile of someone's dirty dishes on top of my coffee kit. It was clearly deliberate and quite strange. I was taken aback at first, but I thought little of it until it happened the next day and the day after. None of the roommates took responsibility. After weeks of this, I finally caught my roommate Matt in the act and I asked him why. He said it's because I didn't wash my dishes. So I explained that they weren't mine. I'm the only vegan in the apartment, so it was pretty easy to prove that the plates and pans with chicken weren't me. He apologized and promised to stop, but the next day he continued, and now there's a chip in the GL butt of my Chemex So naturally I asked him to replace it, which only made him more angry. Later that week, there was a clog on our bathroom sink from hair. I said I would fix it, but Matt insisted that he be the one to do it, figuring this was maybe his way of making up for things. I agreed to let him do it and thanked him. But when I got home from work that day, there was a large stove pot on top of my coffee kit, filled with dirty sink water and hair from the drain. That night I got all the roommates together, including Matt, and basically said, it's either him or me. It was unanimously decided to kick him out. To this day, I don't know why he did that. Him betting hair's just a cunt. Yes. My roommate moved out without telling us. One day I came back and all of her stuff was gone. She was leaving with her last box as I was coming in, and all she said was, don't worry, I found someone else to take over my lease. Well, when I went into her room, it was a complete mess. Old moldy food left on the floor, weird stains on the walls, toenail clippings scattered all over the place, tons of change just lying around. It was absolutely disgusting, and I was the one who had to clean it all, so the new girl wouldn't have to walk into a pigsty. My other roommates did not help me at all, and the thing is, she only was there for 1 month. She made that much of a mess in just 1 month. Did she import toenail clippings? Exclamation mark. I feel like you can't make enough in 1 month to be a scar in your memory. I've no idea. She either just had really thick, fast growing toenails, or she had friends come over and have toenail clipping parties, because there was a lot, and they definitely weren't there before we moved in. College roommate in my second year, there was a serial rapist who had targeted several college girls by entering dorms. She didn't want to take her keys with her to her boyfriend's room, so she left both our suite and room doors unlocked when she left. I was already asleep. Lucky for me, I slept under a drafty window, and it was winter, so I was under several blankets that I kept tucked under the mattress so I wouldn't uncover myself during the night. My screams woke the guys in the next room, so they were able to save me before the monster got me uncovered. His face was a bit swollen and bruised in his mugshot. They took that after he got out of the hospital. My roommate just couldn't understand why I didn't speak to her the rest of the semester and didn't return the next year. She got stuck with a roommate worse than her. So karma. She did a lot of things, but that was the worst because we had been told repeatedly to keep our doors locked at all times, and her apology was to say sorry. But I should know she hated taking her keys, and by a lot of things, I include giving me alcohol poisoning by putting vodka in my Kool-Aid when I had a bad cold and couldn't taste anything. I was 18, started college at 17, and had never had alcohol. School nearly expelled me for underage drinking, but someone came forward and said I hadn't been out of bed and my roommate was getting my drinks. She got probation because it wasn't proven that she did it. I'm just thankful social media didn't exist back then. She tried to add me on Facebook about 10 or 12 years ago, but I told her that 20 years apart hadn't made me like her any more than back then and blocked her. Jesus. Good for the guys for giving the rapist some medicine and bad for the roomie for giving you some medicine. She really didn't understand what she did wrong. My roommate used to eat the core out of my peanut butter and similar things, so it would still look full. Are you sure they weren't dicking the jars down? You know damn well that's the truth. Flew his brother out from Florida to spend 2 weeks in our apartment in the middle of the pandemic and didn't tell me or the other roommate until 9 PM the night before. I assumed he would at least leave his kid, whom he had partial custody of, with her mom while his brother was out. But no, the kid also stayed with us for the majority of those 2 weeks, giving a grand total of 3 adults, a teenage boy, and a baby in an apartment with 1 bathroom, in a pandemic. Yeah, wow. Sucks for his brother and his kid, but I woulda said, fuck no, I don't give a duck about this dude's vacation. Back when I was active duty I had a barracks room with 3 other guys. One of them just came from a marine unit, since he was a corpsman, and I guess he felt he could treat others like shit. He would go out with his friends, get completely shit-faced, and come into the room yelling at the top of his lungs, and wanted to play loud but music at 2 in the morning on a weekday. Then got pissed at us when we asked him if he could be quiet because we are trying to sleep. My roommate started out as my best friend, but then she found heroin and meth. In addition to stealing my car and checkbook, she was extremely wealthy and used her daddy paying for everything but took my stuff. When she got cut off, I woke up at 4 AM and found her doing meth with scary looking guys in our living room. One of them told me if I ever snitched he knew where I lived and what my car looking like. The next day I told management I was moving out due to safety concerns and paid $2K to break my lease, which was my entire savings. I couldn't afford anywhere else to live since I hadn't had contact with my parents in years, so for 6 months I lived in the university theater spotlight booth. It was much safer than living with my druggy roommate, and the theater department had a fridge, showers, microwave, bathrooms, pillows, and blankets. Only one professor ever found out, and he never said anything. Laura, you're a selfish bitch, and I hope you're cooler now. Scott, thanks man for never telling me to leave. How's life now? So good. I'm on my way to Harvard next year. Have seen my parents within the last 2 years. I'm signing for a house on Tuesday, and none of my friends are on drugs. Laura got better too, which makes me happy. It just sucked for a few years there. Against my will, he borrowed my clean underwear for a date and returned it dirty. This sentence scrambled my brain. Against your will? Had you talked to him before and told him not to? Had this happened previously and he'd known it wasn't cool? Exclamation mark. Assuming no, or whatever. Why yours? Had he forgotten he had a date, started laundry, and not had time to dry it before the date or something? Exclamation mark. While we're at it, dirty as in just recently worn? Or was it visibly soiled? What kinds of nasty shit did this guy have planned that he didn't wanna curse his own underwear with it? Even if you haven't said your underwear is off limits, people should just assume it is. Knock on the bathroom door and constantly talk to me while I was taking a shit. Turn the heat up to 100 because hair's cold. Leave the oven on all night long many times. Turn the shower on fully hot, then spend 30 some minutes doing whatever before getting in, subsequently using all the hot water. Having clothes in the washer and dryer 24/7 running or not. Make huge mess in kitchen every night, then complain I don't wipe down the counters often enough. I would eat out every day because I couldn't get any time to cook in the kitchen. The list goes on from this one person. My worst roommate ever of course had to be someone I found off Craigslist. Never again. Took 2 to 3 hour showers at times I needed to get ready for work. Shared bathroom. Cook and would leave leftovers just sitting on the countertop until it got extremely moldy, and we would have to yell at him to clean it. Would use the dryer to dry his clothes as I'm going to bed, but only at this late hour. Wash/dryer are right in front of my room. Wouldn't pay his portion of the electric bill, and it got shut off twice in my less than 1 year stay. Rotting food in the fridge was a norm. Liked to keep the apartment at 65 degrees constantly and wouldn't shut it off even if no one was home, so our bill was sky high every month. Fuck you, Robert. You're not celibate because girls are too dumb to understand you. It's because you have less self-awareness than a ducking cucumber. It's because you have less self-awareness than a ducking cucumber. Love it. What an awesome description of someone. And even the cucumber appears to be getting laid more than that guy. The shittiest thing I had a roommate do was rearrange our living room to make it less obvious as he stole all of our stuff. He also broke into my room while I was work and stole dumb shit like my copy of the Adobe Creative Suite 5, some yarn I hand dyed, the book I was going to use as my goose book for my wedding which happened a year after we moved out, etc. He stole my GST checks, sold my computer, and a shitton of my stuff, and the police did nothing, and my landlord dragged her feet evicting him. Shocker. The most evil thing a roommate ever did. However, too, in fact, as they were both dreadlock wearing hippies who became fast friends, was believe in the whole if it's yellow, let it mellow business, complete with leaving pubes on the seat and not using toilet paper. I asked them to consider flushing while my mother was staying with me, at least. And their response was to say we'll think about it and then proceed to ignore the request. That's a flippin' nightmare. Good riddance. Not living with her anymore. Thank heavens. But she had a giant drunken party on a Sunday night that lasted all night. I'm 45 and she is 40. Guess who is gainfully employed? Guess who needed to ducking sleep like a normal adult human? Roommates who don't give a duck about disrupting my sleep cycle. Anger me beyond belief. The disrespect is astounding. She also slept every day until at least 1 or 2, so I had to tiptoe around the house for half of my day. There were lots of issues. I hate living with other people. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.